Welcome to another episode of Homemade Muscle. Today I'm interviewing the healthy gamer Jack Jones.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm happy to be here. I am in Missouri in the United States, and I have a YouTube channel called The Healthy Gamer, along with a website and other whatever media properties that go along with that. And I'll just give you a little bit of background on myself. The reason I started The Healthy Gamer was that I have been a lifelong gamer myself, and I have actually struggled quite a bit with gaming addiction. When I was young, I was born in China. We'll just start from the very beginning. I was born in China.
Okay.
I was actually adopted over to the United States at the age of 8. That was quite a transition for me, and so I left I left my parents, I left everyone I knew, and I came over to the United States. So I think that was kind of the first big trauma of my life, right? At the time, you don't process it when you're 8 years old, but that led to I think a lot of the later issues I've had in life. And then the point where I jumped into like MMOs hardcore was when I was 13 years old. So previous to when I was 13, I'd played video games, but I don't really think I was addicted at that point. But when I was 13, so my Chinese parents both were able to come over to the United States, and they moved to a city that's about half an hour away. So I was able to see them, like every 2 or 3 months. So my dad came over after my mom. He came over and I got to see him like twice, and then he just died really suddenly when I was 13. And looking back, that was the point where I really started to just escape into video games. So at the time I was playing EverQuest. So before EverQuest, I played Ultima Online, which is still like my favorite MMO of all time. If anybody out there played Ultima Online, that game came out like in 1995. I was 13 years old. My dad had just passed, and I started spending like every waking moment in EverQuest, and I think that was a way for me to cope, with losing a parent at the time. At 13, you don't think about this, so this is all retrospectively like, oh, okay, this makes sense now. But so from basically the age of 13 on until I was about 21 years old, I played MMOs. Like that was all I did with all of my spare time. So I went from EverQuest to World of Warcraft. And there's some other ones like Dark Age of Camelot in between there. Not important what games I played, but right, the problem is I spent all of my time in there. I remember being in high school, and my friends got so fed up with me not doing things with them. One night they literally just came over and like unplugged my internet and forced me to go hang out with them. That's how bad it was. I would rather go on a raid in World of Warcraft than go hang out with my friends. And it was, I was lucky to even have any friends based on the way I treated other people. So then I moved into college, and the problem just got worse. So my sophomore year of college, I almost failed out because I was playing World of Warcraft like 12 to 16 hours a day. I remember my roommate he would come home from his classes, and I would be on the computer. He would go to bed, I'd be on the computer. He would wake up the next morning for his classes, and I would still be on the computer, like I hadn't gone to bed yet. And that was my schedule. And I dropped down to 9 hours, and I almost failed out of school. But it was kind of during this process, during this time, right around, I had gotten into bodybuilding just a little bit when I was 15. I got this little weight set at home, and I dabbled with it. But when I got into college, I really got serious about it, and I really jumped in. And from about the age of 18 to 22, I went from being about 140 pounds to I eventually got up to my best weight was, so I bulked up to about 210 pounds, and I cut back to 187. I got to about 6.5% body fat.
Wow.
And I can send you some pictures if you want to share that on the channel later on.
Yeah.
But that was quite an accomplishment for me, and that proved to me that was like the first thing that I'd ever done that I was proud of. And that was like such a confidence building exercise because, when I was playing World of Warcraft, I became super, super socially isolated. And I realized I'd gone through long periods of kind of major depression that I wasn't even really aware of, and I was managing it by playing World of Warcraft. And it was to the point where I couldn't make eye contact with people. I couldn't speak to people. Like the idea of even having a girlfriend was just so wildly out of the realm of possibilities that I didn't even. That was my whole goal when I was like in my 20s. Is like, man, if I could just have a girlfriend, a girl that likes me, and then I would be happy, right? Which that seems like such a crazy thought now, but that was the place I was at, like this place where I felt totally worthless, and I didn't feel like I could accomplish anything. And my biggest hope was that I could find some job where I could make like $30,000 or $40,000 a year, and maybe find a girlfriend that liked me. And that was my highest expectation at the time. And it was fitness, finding fitness that changed my life. So it was this process of this hard work and putting in work every day that said, hey, I got to see some really good results. I built a body, that's better than anyone that I knew. So I was like, okay, if I can do this and do so well at this, then what else can I do? And that really opened the doors to then self-development and reading different books and, building on to the life from there. And, now I'm to the point where, I have Healthy Gamer. I opened a gym in 2014. Sold out a CrossFit gym. We did a startup in 2015, and we were going to get funded. And then I hiked the Appalachian Trail last year. So like I've been able to do a lot more things with my life, like things that would not have even been remotely possible back when I was addicted to those video games in my 20s. And it was fitness that kicked it all off. So a really long-winded story of why I created Healthy Gamers, to help other gamers use fitness to discover this confidence in themselves so that they can then go on and, live a full life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow.
Yeah, that's the story. Sorry, that took forever.
No, it was really interesting. Sounds like a really, really challenging childhood. I mean, yeah, really complicated stuff for a kid to handle. And I can imagine why you would find it interesting to escape to another world. Yeah, I think so. So, would you say that it was only the fitness, once you started exercising, that your mindset expanded? Or would you say that gaming also offers an aspect of, okay, like I can put a lot of work in this game and I can improve and I can like level up and get more points or whatever. So why not apply that to life as well? I mean, I'm not a gamer, but I was thinking about that because I was discussing it with my friend Marcelo, who I did an interview a week ago, who was struggling with gaming, and he wanted to basically get in shape. So we talked a little bit about that, and some people thought that I was against gaming, which I'm not. Anything in moderation is okay. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I think that's a good distinction, and that's something that people make the assumption that I'm against gaming now, right? I'm not against gaming at all, but I think there's a certain subset of individuals, probably 5 to 10% of people who play video games, that are playing it for an escape. So if you're using a video game to escape from your life, really it's no different than alcohol or drugs or any other addiction. You're using this thing to manage an emotion, which never works out in the end, right? You need to fix the root cause of what's causing the disturbance within you. Otherwise it just becomes another addiction, and it can wreck your life just as bad as any other traditional alcohol or drug addiction. So I think that's the distinction, right? Lots of people are able to play video games without being addicted. So if you're playing because you enjoy and you have fun, like that can be very healthy. There's tons of studies that show like first-person shooters are incredible for hand-eye coordination, and video games in general light up your brain because they're much more active than watching TV. You're so engaged, and if you ever played like StarCraft or League of Legends or something that requires you to really be active after a 2-hour session, you'll be exhausted. Like you have really activated your brain that time. So I think that was a benefit and is a benefit of gaming from myself. So like playing World of Warcraft, or playing any MMO, you have to do quite a lot of research if you want to be really good. So I would spend hours every night just sitting on forums, watching different videos, reading different articles, learning about the game. And that really translated over into real life. So that actually did give me confidence to then go on and do things like YouTube and learn. So like with my YouTube channel, I didn't know anything about video editing, shooting video, building a YouTube channel, building an online brand. And I had the confidence actually from video games, from playing MMOs, saying like, hey, I was able to research and do all this and figure out how to play these complicated games and be the best at that. So there's no reason that I can't go out and do the same sort of research and go on forums and talk to people and find videos to learn how to build a big YouTube channel. And same with like online marketing, and the same with just shooting better, well-produced videos, shooting DSLRs. So that photo in the back is a photo that I took on the Appalachian Trail. And again, I don't have any formal photography training, but I was able to build up about 4,500 Instagram followers during my 6-month hike. Wow. Just because my photos turned out pretty well. And there's just so I think video games give people the confidence to go and try and to fail, because in a video game, any new game you play, you're just gonna fail constantly and learn. And that process, and you realize like it's just a process. It's not a big deal. So any new thing you try next, you can just apply the video game concept of, hey, I am I'm starting out. I don't know anything. I'm gonna fail a lot, but I just need to keep trying. I need to learn from the people who are the best. And that same concept just applies to anything in life, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like learning to be okay with failure is a huge thing that I learned pretty late in life, but it was such a big game changer. Not mistaking failure with with yourself, with your character. The fact that you fail doesn't mean that you're a failure. It's we're used to seeing like all the shiny parts of everyone's success, and you never like see behind the curtains what he had to do to get there. So
yeah, that's very true. So that actually makes me think of the Appalachian Trail, right? So that hike is almost 2,200 miles, and it took me 205 days to do. And when I talk to people about it, most of them have this initial reaction like, I can never do anything like this. But from my perspective, it really, after I finished it, it doesn't seem like a big deal, because all it was just one day after another of walking. Like all I did was walk for 200 days, and all I had to do was just eat breakfast, walk to lunch, eat lunch, walk to dinner. And when you break it down like that, it's not that spectacular. It's not that big of a deal. So I think that probably anyone who's found any success in any area in life, if you ask them and that seems like it's out of reach or seems so spectacular, if you talk to them, they see every single step they took, and they think, well, it's really not a big deal because I just took one step after another. And I think that really applies to anything we do in life.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about gaming. So I've noticed that I have quite some gamers in my following as well. Now, let's say you have a guy who's quite addicted and he's also carrying some extra weight, but he wants to change. So he wants to break this pattern. What would be the first tips you would give him? Like, should he start with nutrition or exercise, or should he start with just playing less, or like have a limit of hours he plays? I don't know. What is your idea about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a pretty big question, right? So I think it's important to start, like, change always starts from within, and it starts from your mind, right? Because I believe that, well, and it's true, our minds control everything that we do. So first, I think in order to make real change, a person needs to get really, really clear on, why they want to change, what their goals are, right? So set reasonable goals, set exciting goals, and figure out a really, really clear motivator that is inherent to themselves. So I think it's important that I think if you're trying to change for other people, if you're trying to change, right, if you're trying to change because you just you think having a nice body is something that you should have, but maybe you're not really motivated. Maybe you don't care about having a six-pack, but maybe you believe that having a six-pack will make other people respect you more. So I think that gives you a lot less energy than if you can find some deep core reason in yourself that that you can find that drive. So that'll be different from everybody, and it's kind of a difficult subject to approach. But I hope the viewers can get an idea that it change first starts from finding a really, really core reason. So one of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich, and in there he talks about finding your burning desire, right? So I think in order to sustain any major long-lasting change, you've first got to find a burning desire to do it. Otherwise, your willpower will only push you so far, and you'll start to burn out and start to question, like, why am I spending all this time doing this thing that's really hard and painful? And then you'll just drop off the fitness cycle. So, finding a really, really intense burning desire is number one. And then after you set that, it's important to, let's see, for a gamer, the other part, I mean, this is all pretty general to everyone, but on my YouTube channel, I see a lot of people go to my workout videos. I have some beginner workout videos, and they'll come in and they'll say, all right, I'm going to do this every day, twice a day for the next 8 weeks, right? And then usually probably you don't hear from this, I don't follow up. I don't know what they're doing. But that's a bad plan to try to jump in and go 110% because most of the time you're going to burn out. Yeah. So I think having a reasonable plan is really important. So, and I think people get stuck on decision paralysis, right? Because I get a lot of questions on, should I do this? Should I do that? What plan should I follow? What nutrition? And then I think a lot of people get stuck on trying to find the perfect thing as well. So my basic advice is always like, just pick something from someone that you trust, someone that has credentials and someone who is, who you've vetted and says they know what they're doing. And then just follow their plan, and don't worry if it's the best plan. Don't worry if it's the optimal plan, because every plan, if you stick to it, will work. Like if somebody tells you to go do 1,000 push-ups a day, you'll get stronger, you'll get better at doing push-ups, you'll probably lose some fat, and it's not the best plan in the world, but if you're able to stick with it, you'll make some results. So like that axiom that every workout plan works, but nothing works forever, really does hold true. And of course, there are plans that are better and some plans that are worse. But what's the most important is that you get started, because you can, if you find the perfect plan, but you don't start on it for 6 months because you spent 6 months searching for the perfect plan, you've lost 6 months in potential gains, right? So that's important. And then for video gamers specifically, there's a lot of ways to incorporate quite a lot of exercise within video games. So that's an area that I'm really excited about researching right now. So I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone and Gwent in the evenings, and I've been streaming that. And I just decided to do an experiment, like, can I get in a pretty high workout just in breaks with Hearthstone and Gwent? So, like for example, on Monday night I streamed for 2.5 hours, and I was able to do 240 push-ups and 125 pull-ups within those two. It was just in my breaks. Like, it didn't detract from my games, but that was really interesting. And so I think with any game you play, if you just set a goal for yourself, say like, hey, tonight I'm going to be playing on my Xbox. And if you're playing first-person shooter, say every time I die, I'm going to do 5 push-ups. Or if you want to do some cardio, I'm going to do 5 burpees. And then just tally it up. So maybe do that for a week. Tally up your total volume, like how many push-ups, how many pull-ups, how many burpees you did. And then the next week, increase that volume by 5%, right? So that would be a really, really simple way to start incorporating exercise into your routine without it being overbearing. And what I found, 2 things that are interesting. One, it limits my gameplay a little bit more, because it does add an element of pain to it. So I'm like, I don't want to play for 4 more hours, because that means I'm going to have to do 4 more hours of push-ups and pull-ups. So that is beneficial in limiting the amount of time I play. And then having like this set structured time where I say I'm streaming from 6 to 9 p.m. And almost having it on a schedule also limits it. So if people are wanting to limit their gameplay time, I think those 2 ideas are really effective. I feel like I'm starting to ramble on now, but I think there's a lot of ways for gamers to just incorporate exercise into their gaming, and that would be a great first step, because you just need to get started.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I mean, and if you can even find other people to join that challenge,
Mm,
I think that would make it even more cooler.
yeah, that's a great
So,
idea. Yeah. I mean, because I do find like if I'm streaming, I'm much more accountable.
yeah,
I'm not just gonna not do my exercise. I always write my goals up on the corner of the stream and then I
hmm,
update it as I go. So that would be something useful for people to try. Like just stream your video games and then let that be an accountability method for you.
yeah, sounds good. Really good idea. I think a lot of people can use that and gain from it. So we talked a lot about paralysis by analysis, typical
Mm,
thing that happens a lot nowadays. I mean, you have so many information out there. So as you said, like in the beginning, anything works, as long as you're not like injuring yourself. Just what I say as well is just give a plan a try and stick with it. Don't like quit in a week. A lot of people think that they might have to gain like tremendous results within a week, which is, not realistic unless you're on steroids or whatever,
right.
which is probably not a good idea, of course. So, yeah, just find a plan, give it a try, and especially with nutrition as well, I would recommend to gamers, I guess, who probably drink a lot of, I mean, maybe not all of them, but there is definitely a category that I've seen because I have gamer friends that drink a lot of soda and have a
Mm,
lot of snacks that they eat during gaming, and it's easy to overeat because your mind is distracted. And I would say like a first step with their nutrition would be just to have like healthy snacks during their gaming. Like have some carrots, some cucumbers, make like an avocado sauce or whatever, instead of having things like that. Maybe that could be a good idea. I don't know. What do you think?
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. On the nutrition side, right. So I always say, um, so I don't count calories.
Hmm.
I've never done that. It seems it's an extra layer of effort and work that I don't think is really necessary.
Yeah.
So the simplest, like the way I maintain my weight is simply, um, anytime I notice that I'm gaining some body fat, I just first thing I do is I cut out my sugars. So, right, like when I got back from the trail, I ate a ton of pizzas and ice cream just because I felt like I'd earned it after walking for that many miles.
Yeah.
But I quit very quickly, went up to 205 pounds. And so all I did for the last 2 weeks is I've just cut out my sugars. I haven't done anything else to my diet. And I've lost 2% body fat, so 1% per week, just from cutting out sugars.
Hmm.
And that is like, I mean, it's very simple when you like as a prescription, like cut out sugar, but it's difficult to do. And what I always tell people is that the first 5 days are the most difficult. That's what I've always found. If you're consistently eating sugar, you will crave sugar for 5 days, but after 5 days, it gets much easier. And so it's much easier for you to think psychologically that you're not giving up sugar forever. You're giving up sugar until your next meal. So until I go to dinner, I'm not going to eat sugar. Once you
Yeah.
eat your dinner, until next breakfast, I'm not going to eat sugar. So just do that, and then realize that once you get past 5 days, it gets much easier. So, right, sugars are a big killer. Sugary drinks,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is that is they're just ingrained habits. So I find if you don't have reminders for your habits, it's really easy to forget. So I tell people to just get little post-it notes, put it on the computer that says big bold letters, no sugar, no drinks, right? And then you see that and you remind yourself. And also it helps to make a commitment to yourself. And also to, if you have a coach or something, it really helps to make a commitment to them if you know that they're going to be checking up on you, asking you like, hey, did you drink any sugar this week?
Yeah.
So in all those little things, it can seem difficult in the beginning, but once you get in the swing of it, it really becomes very simple, and it's just about building new habits.
Yeah.
So, and on the snack side, I think for me, I just can't have bad snacks in the house. Otherwise, late night, if I get hungry and I'm tired, right?
Yeah.
So, I think one thing that gamers run into a lot is that they stay up really late.
Hmm.
And when you stay up late, your willpower is deteriorated
Yeah.
because your willpower really does drop throughout the day. So, ideally, you just don't stay up as late. That's something that I've managed to really incorporate into my life now. But I'm 30, so it's taken a while to stop staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning. But if you are staying up late, it's best to just avoid the temptation. It's easier at the grocery store to not buy a bunch of frozen pizzas and Hot Pockets and chips and whatnot than it
Yeah.
is when it's 3 a.m. at night and your willpower is completely drained and you're hungry and you want something fast to eat. So uh, I say just don't have it, and then
Yeah.
have like almonds and nuts and uh, those other sorts of healthier snacks in the house.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds like solid advice. I mean, if you have it at home and your willpower is deprived, as you say, drained, yeah, it's really difficult not to have it. It's like I don't know, like when you drink alcohol, like it's difficult not to combine it with bad food or things like
Yeah.
that, and triggers that we all have. Yeah, so like just drink water, eat healthier, eat like
Yeah.
my favorite quote says Dan Jones says like eat like a grown up, which is simple good advice.